Good day everyone, this is Lance M. Necaros. I'm going to present to you the chapter 8 of our book, which is Agriculture. Agriculture, it means farming or process of producing crops and raising livestock. The two agricultural activity are the management of biological transformation and the harvest of biological assets for sale. The common features of agricultural activity are 1. Capability to change, 2. Management of change, 3. Measurement of change. The capability to change is that there will be a biological transformation. The management of change is there will be an enhancement or stabilization on conditions necessary for process of biological transformation. The measurement of change is the measurement of change in quantity or quality brought by biological transformation. Take note that harvesting from unmanaged sources such as ocean fishing is not an agricultural activity. The biological transformation is caused by acid changes through growth, procreation, and degeneration, and the production of agricultural produce. The growth is an increase in quantity or quality. The procreation is the creation of additional living animal or plant, and the degeneration is a decrease in quantity or quality of animal or plant. A biological asset is a living animal or plant. The agricultural produce is the harvested product of or from the biological asset, and the harvest is a detachment of produce from the biological asset. Biological assets. The agricultural produce and products resulted from processing after harvest are illustrated here. 1. A biological asset of trees in a plantation forest has an agricultural produce of felled trees, and the products resulted from processing after harvest are the logs and lumber. Number 2. Plants. Harvested palay, cane, corn, or cotton, and the products resulted from processing after harvest are rice, sugar, corn flour, cornstarch, thread, and clothing. The number 3, dairy cattle. It produces milk and then it becomes cheese. Sheep, wool then becomes yarn or carpet, pigs, carcass, bushes, leaf, vines, grapes, and then it becomes a wine. Number 8, fruit trees. It produces fruits and then the fruits are being processed. Recognition and measurement. A biological asset or agriculture produce is recognized when it meets the asset recognition criteria, including reliable measurement of its fair value. The biological assets are initially and subsequently measured at fair value less cost to sell. The gain or loss arising from initial measurement and subsequent changes in fair value less cost to sell are recognized in surplus or deficit. Biological assets that cannot reliably determine the fair value on initial recognition are measured at cost and subsequently measured at cost less accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairment losses. While the agricultural produce are initially measured at fair value less cost to sell at point of harvest, it is deemed cost when subsequently measuring the agricultural produce using measurement basis for inventories or other basis. The gain arising from initial measurement is recognized in surplus or other basis. The cost to sell is an incremental cost directly attributable to the disposal of an asset, excluding the finance costs and income taxes. Determination of fair value. The fair value is equal to the quoted price in active market less the transportation costs. An active market exists if 1. Items traded are homogeneous, 2. Willing participants can normally be found at any time and the prices are available to the public. If there are more than one active market, use the price in the market expected to be used. If no active market, estimate the market price based on the following. Number 1. The most recent transaction price, provided that there is no significant change between the date of transaction and reporting date. And number 2. The market price for similar asset, with adjustment to reflect the differences. Number 3. Sector benchmark. It is a value of an orchard expressed per export tray, bushel or hectare, and value of cattle expressed per kilogram of meat. And number 4. present value of expected net cash flows from assets discounted at current market determined rate, provided that the market determined prices are not available in its present condition. The estimates of cash flows exclude finance costs, taxes, and costs of establishing biological assets after harvest. The contract prices are relevant when determining fair value, and the transportation costs refer to all costs necessary in getting the asset to the market for sale. B. The determination of fair value may be facilitated by grouping biological assets or agriculture produce according to significant attributes like age or quality. C. The cost may sometimes approximate the fair value when 1. There is little biological transformation since initial cost incurrence. In example, seedlings planted immediately prior to reporting date. And number 2, the impact of biological transformation on price is not expected material. In example, initial growth in a 30-year pine tree plantation production cycle. D. Biological assets attached to land. The trees in plantation forests may not have a separate market, but an active market may exist for combined assets as package. In example, the biological assets, raw land, and land improvements. The raw land and land improvements may be deducted from the fair value of the combined assets to arrive at fair value of biological asset. And letter E. Biological asset previously measured at fair value less cost to sell shall be measured at fair value less cost to sell until disposal. The disclosures related to agriculture, letter A, the aggregate gain or loss or initial recognition of biological assets and agriculture produce and from change in fair value less cost to sell of biological assets. Letter B, consumable and bearer biological assets and biological assets held for sale and held for distribution at no charge or for a nominal change. The consumable biological assets are harvested as agricultural produce or distributed as biological asset. In example, livestock intended for production of meat. The bearer biological assets are self-generating and used repeatedly for more than a year. In example, dairy cattle held for production of milk, fruits, and more. Letter C. The mature and immature biological assets. Mature biological assets are those who attained harvestable specifications or able to sustain regular harvest. And letter D. The amount of change in fair value less cost to sell due to physical changes and price changes. Illustration of journal entry, letter A. Entity A purchased 5 breeding stocks at 3,000 pesos each, equal to fair value less cost to sell at the date of acquisition. Breeding stocks debit 15,000 pesos, cash in bank local currency credit 15,000 pesos. Letter B, 10 breeding stocks are born. The FBLCS on this date of birth is 2,000 pesos each. Breeding stocks debit 20,000. Gain on initial recognition of biological assets, credit 20,000 pesos. Here is an illustration from GAM for NGA. On January 1, 20X1, Entity A has 5 2-year-old breeding stocks with total carry amount of 25,000 pesos. Dividing 25,000 by 5 is equal to 5,000 carry amount each 2-year-old breeding stocks. The transactions occurred here are A. On July 1, 20X1, 10 breeding stocks were born. The FBLCS on this date is 2,000 pesos. B. July 1, 20X1, 2-year-old breeding stocks were purchased for 5,100 pesos each, equal to FBLCS on this date. On December 31, 20X1, 3 breeding stocks were born. FBLCS on this date is 2,100 pesos each. The FBLCS on December 31, 20X1 are as follows. Age and FBLCS. The newborn has an FBLCS of 2,100 pesos. The 0.5-year-old, 2,150, 2 years old, 5,200, 2.5 years old, 5,400, 3 years old, 5,700. The requirements are compute for the change in FBLCS, letter A due to price change and letter B due to physical change. The following slides may be paused for your own convenience of this discussion. The formula here for the price change is FBLCS and age beginning minus FBLCS beginning age beginning times the quantity. So for example, on January 1, 2021, we have already a 5 2-year-old stocks. Like what I said in the formula, let's find the FBLCS and of our beginning stocks. That is, they are already 2 years old at the beginning of 20x1, so we get 5,200. And their beginning FBLCS at their age 2 is the carrying amount 5,000. While on July 1, we have newborn stocks costing 2,000 FBLCS, but the ending FBLCS of the stocks at the date of acquisition is 2,100. That is why the computation is 2,100 minus 2,000 multiplied by 10 newborn stocks. For the purchase of stocks on July 1 is the same case as our beginning stocks, which is we find the FBLCS of our 2-year-old age stocks, that is 5,200 minus the FBLCS at the date of acquisition, 5,100 multiplied by 2 stocks, that is equal to 200. And for December 31, there is no change in FBLCS, so the total change in FBLCS due to price change is equal to 2,200. Here, the formula for the change in FBLCS due to physical change is a bit different from the price change. We have FBLCS and age ending minus FBLCS and age beginning times the quantity plus FBLCS of newborn at the date of birth. At the beginning of 20x1, we have a 2-year-old breeding stocks that becomes 3 years old at the end of 20x1. So we get 3 years old FBLCS subtracting to the ending FBLCS at its beginning age of 2, which is 5,200. Multiplied by 5 stocks, we get 2,500. Stocks born on July 1 has an FBLCS and age ending of 0.5 years, so we get 2,150, and the FBLCS ending age beginning has 0 years. So we get only newborn FBLCS costing 2,100. The purchase on July 1 is almost the same years with our beginning stocks, except that we bought a 2 years old stock in the middle of the years. That is why at the end of the year, the stocks become 2.5 years. So we get 5,400 FBLCS, and the ending FBLCS at its beginning age of 2 is 5,200. Multiplied by the number of stocks, 2 is equal to 400. So, for December 31, we have no FBLCS change except for the acquisition of 3 newborn stocks costing 2,100 FBLCS each at the date of birth. Multiplying them is equal to 6,300. Additional FBLCS of newborn on July 1 is 2,000 multiplied by the number of newborn stocks is equal to 20,000. Now, our total change in FBLCS due to physical change is equal to 29,700. So, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching.